Well, Steve, look.
What?
A pig just flew by. Because the crop duster paint is done!
Finished.
Ah, the crop duster. Man, it has been a long time with this car. As a matter of fact, it dates all the way back to episode 40 of Roadkill, which is actually when you might have seen Steve Dulcich for the very first time, because Finnegan and I went up to his farm and we stabbed a 440 in it, and it was pretty awesome. And then we came back in episodes of Roadkill Garage and we installed a 383, and the thing was quick. It ultimately ended up running 1160s in the quarter mile. As a matter of fact, the car was so great, we decided not to live with the rust anymore. It actually had a big old hole in the A-pillar, and so the scheme to paint it began. That's when Steve first did the episode of Roadkill Garage nearly by himself, where he began the bodywork on this thing. And it has been literally 2 years of excuses and all sorts of things getting in the way. But finally, on this episode of Roadkill Garage, we are one step closer to actually finishing the duster.
Where are you going?
Finally opening the door.
Hey, I don't know if you want to do that.
I haven't really had a look at this.
Oh, man.
In what, a year?
I'm completely consumed by guilt.
You should be.
No, I think we could probably get this done. We can do this.
You know what episode you started the bodywork in?
I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 back for sure.
2 or 3? It was episode 18.
What are we up to?
It's like 40-something. Oh, man, there's just stuff stacked in it everywhere.
There was a dog living in there for a while, too.
Did it eat my upholstery?
I hope not. Why does that make me so happy to hear this thing run?
I know, it does me too. It makes me more motivated than if we'd pushed it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the greatness.
And it sounds really good.
Okay, let's whip this engine out of here, because we have a lot of work to do in a short time to get there.
I'm completely riddled with guilt because this car is still in exactly the same state it was in a year ago. But taking this engine out is going to motivate me because this engine bay is just a rusted up mess. And I want the whole car to look super nice. So step 1, engine out. Step 2, paint the whole thing, including the engine bay. What I'm going to do is strip everything out of the engine bay so that I have a clear area to clean it all up and put some nice paint on it. Another piece. Into the tote it goes.
This is a major project here. There's some parts here that are just gonna get covered with a piece of metal and some panel bond adhesive. We have this old Chrysler 5th Avenue hood here as a source of sheet metal. Cutting a little strip out of that, but I'm gonna turn it to bare metal first because the strip's gonna be so small, it'll be hard to grind once I'm done, and I really don't wanna thin it too much. I can't believe I got the patch done on the very first try.
Nice work, Freiburger.
Oh, thanks. Once I tack it in there, I'm gonna be able to like shape it around to the metal perfectly as I go. And then of course the grinder work will help. And then of course the slathering of the ritual Bondo. See my foot protector? Well, I'll say you don't want me doing body work on your car. Over here, the tacks are pretty good. Down here, the sheet metal was just so thin up here that I had to stack some welds, and when I grind it, I'm sure it's gonna have some holes that'll need to be addressed, but it's good enough.
I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, I'm super happy because I can report real progress on the crop duster paint and body work. I've been slaving on this car for like 4 days, doing a bunch of Bondo work, getting all these panels straight. Now, when I say a bunch of Bondo work, I don't mean mud that thick. I mean a lot of surface area needed to be perfected. And the duster is super complicated because if you look at the body lines here, all of these lines converge and make points and stuff like that. You don't find that on a lot of cars, and if it's not right, you'll notice it right away. So my next step, I'm gonna tape this car up because finally, I'm gonna be shooting primer. Well, all right, that's the last of it. I've got the skirt on the bottom of the car. That's going to prevent any overspray from getting on the chassis, and I'm ready to shoot primer.
Well, all right, that's the first coat of primer. I'm just gonna let this tack up for a little bit, and then I'll hit it again, and I'll call it done. Well, see, what I like to do when I put the primer on is get it on as smoothly as possible, almost like it's paint. And that eliminates a lot of sanding, trying to get the texture back out of it. And it also helps you see flaws because it's pretty shiny material with this epoxy. I'll give it 10 minutes or so and back in for round 2.
Well, Steve's outside doing skilled labor, so that means I'm kind of useless to him. And so I'm coming inside for a repair and honestly, a moment of roadkill shame. First of all, remember our long bed muscle truck that we built on an episode of Roadkill Garage a long time ago? We put a 630 horsepower big block in the thing. And then when we went out to do the muscle truck shootout that was like for a Father's Day special with all the hosts and everything, Tony, Lucky, all those guys, I ended up blowing up the transmission off camera. And number one reason, wrong transmission for the job. I happened to have a 700 R4 sitting around, and so we threw it behind it. And when we were out there running the muscle truck shootout, Dulcich and I are in the truck at wide open throttle, and I thought that I was in third going to drive, and nope, I was in drive going to neutral. As a matter of fact, Dulcich says I actually went into reverse. And so I completely scattered the front input clutch into a million pieces. So had this thing rebuilt with a billet drum, and we're gonna throw it back in the truck and hopefully later on be able to at least get this thing functioning again.
I can't believe I'm right here. I'm ready to lay paint down on the Roadkill crop duster. I'm gonna put a light coat over the whole car. I call that the tack coat. That's gonna give me some material to build on the actual finish coats. It's a single stage urethane, which means there's not gonna be a clear coat. I wanted to go with that kind of paint because the factory didn't use clear back in those days. So I want to be kind of more reminiscent of the original type of paint. So wish me luck. This is it. Once I mix that paint together with the catalyst, it just has a life of 6 hours. So that is the commitment point. I'm mixing paint. Man, I stayed here till pretty late last night. I put 3 coats of acrylic urethane in the original Code W1 Alpine White, and it came out just beautiful. I'm really happy with it. Now, 99% of paint work is prep, and the car, if I eyeball it, it is as straight as a die. I've got the body lines looking really good, and the paint went down really, really smooth. What I have to do next is just give the thing a little bit of a cut and polish, which would be the final step in an absolutely stunning show quality paint job.
We got the transmission out of this thing earlier, basically just by the gravity method, but we're gonna have to put it in with a little bit more finesse, which means sliding the crossmember back, which means removing the stock exhaust system hanger that's in our way. Popped right out immediately.
All right.
Push under. There we go.
Can you wriggle it and push it forward? Okay, that's basically home. It just needs to get.
Here's a bolt if you want to get one in for safety.
Great.
Okay.
Did that just go in that nicely?
Yep. Stop there.
Here's one of the toughest things to do when it comes to painting a car. Like, you get the thing painted, it's really, really nice, but if you want perfection, you're gonna have to color sand it and buff it. Now, color sanding actually means you're physically gonna sand your brand new paint job, and it has to be done correctly so you don't ruin it. In the old days, you would use these kinds of tools, and you would do that by hand, usually wet sanding with 600 or 800 or 1,000 grit, and it progressively over the years, it got finer and finer. These days, you actually use your DA sander, and that's the same kind of sander you use for a lot of body work and stuff like that. What you do is you replace your regular DA backing pad with this special hook and loop setup, and then you can use this super expensive hook and loop, which is basically Velcro sandpaper. Now, I've got 1,000 grit and 1,500. 1,000 is probably a little coarser than a lot of guys like these days, but it'll really level a lot better than a finer grit sandpaper. I've just got the bottom of this fender left to do, so I'm gonna attack it right now. Once you're done with the color sanding, now you've got the arduous job of trying to get it as shiny as it was when you started. Now, to do that, you use a buffer. You want a pro quality buffer. It's rotary. It's about 2,000 to 2,500 RPM. You also need the right polishing bonnets to go on it. In my opinion, the wool is the way to go. And I have 3 different grades of wool pad. This is a compounding pad. It's for coarse cutting. This is a polishing pad. And then I've got the final glazing, high polish pad. And each time the pad is a softer material. And correspondingly, there's a different sauce to go with each one of these pads. I've got rubbing compound, which takes out the sanding scratches, but it's gonna leave streaks in the paint. So you take the polish, and that'll remove the streaks and give you a nice, smooth shine. And then you have the machine glaze. Now what that's gonna do is just give it that perfect shine. Now I'm gonna grab my buffer, go to the first step, and start with the rubbing compound. Normally, I'd go all the way around the car with the compound and then switch to the polish, but I just want to demonstrate on the top of this quarter panel all 3 steps. So what I'm going to do is wipe down the coarse cutting compound, and then I'm going to switch pads and go for the polish. Okay, I finished the polish and I wiped the car down. I changed the bonnet on my buffer. I've got my machine glaze, and I'm going to hit it with the final step. Okay, that part of the panel came out really good, so there's nothing left to do but all the rest of the car 3 times, and then paint is done. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I call paint, brother.
All right, Dulcich, I know you're like working on your craft outside, but I need some help with the Dingleberry drive shaft.
This is almost ready to drive?
Yep. All right, hand me that. I'm gonna go under.
All right, here.
Thank you. Can you come guide?
Yeah.
Get that in. Yeah.
This looks pretty good.
Okay.
Did you grease the U-joints?
No.
I've got the car all buffed out, and now it's time to think about putting it together, which means bolts. Now, normally I'd paint them with a spray gun, but this time I'm just using an aerosol, and I've got a pretty good color match. I've got these bolts for the doors all done, and I've got some more to do here for miscellaneous parts, and then it's back to the car for assembly. I've got these loose panels that fit up front, like the header panel and bumper valence, and right here, the latch support, which is blacked out on the face side that you see through the grille. I'm really just working my way up to doing the doors, which is gonna be super, super hard, so a couple of bolts and this thing will be in. Latch support, yeah!
The crop duster is truly mint. Okay, ready to balance it on the jack and swap ends. This is a terrible job.
Okay, the jack's gotta come up 1 pump.
Okay, ready?
Yep. Okay.
This is nerve-wracking. It's waiting to dent or chip brand new paint. Okay, this is not a total disaster, but this is where you have to be really careful and look at your alignment and everything. We noted it was pretty tight up here, but unfortunately it's super tight down here. The good news is that the panel alignment from the fender to the door this way is okay, but that gap is bad and we know it's gonna touch. So what we're gonna have to do is take the lower hinge and pull it out to give us more gap right here. That's gonna make this problem worse. And so what we're gonna do is overcompensate down here and then loosen the top hinge and pull it too, with 2 discrete adjustments. Hold it, hold it.
think I did a better job on the underneath of the trunk lid than the top.
Okay, go slow.
That's actually not too bad. What I'm doing here is preparing for a blackout treatment on the car, and what we're going for is very similar to what Chrysler offered on 1971 Dusters as an optional package. So to prepare for the paint, I'm scuffing the areas with 320 grit dry paper. That may seem a little coarse, but I can assure you it'll be just fine for a semi-flat or flat urethane. The car is sanded and ready for the blackout. I also had the hood to do, so I've got that sanded down pretty nicely. I'm gonna paint this first, and then back to the car.
I finally got all the trans stuff done, so I'm gonna juice this thing up, and Steve's out there trying to figure out the final steps on the Duster. One way or another, we're gonna be doing burnouts in something before the end of the show, and I'm guessing it is not the crop duster. For some reason, the wheels and tires on the long bed have been controversial. Some people don't like the big 33 by 12 50-15s. I think it's great, evens out the style of a long bed, but I had to have me some dish mags. Check it out, 15 by 8s. So I also wanted another 33-inch tire that was like really tame in the tread, not an aggressive all-terrain. It was kind of hard to find, especially one that didn't have like a super aggressive sidewall. But this is what I got, a Firestone Destination AT. It does have more sidewall treatment than these old, more 80s looking tires, but I have a feeling I can live with it. Now comes the part I have been waiting for a long time. You know, when we decided to paint the crop duster the factory EW1 code Alpine White, we knew that that was gonna be a little bit of a drab color and we wanted to spice it up. So here it goes. We're gonna give this thing the 1971 blackout treatment. That means the hood, cowl, fender tops, and all around the drip rail moldings are gonna be a satin black. It's gonna look really sharp. I'm not sure I've ever seen a white car with that treatment on it before. Now we have to really carefully mask it all off. And then Steve will get in here and paint it, and wow, the crop duster paint job will be done. Okay, the blackout paint is done and it looks awesome. But before we show you that, I'm going to install these factory graphics back here. Now, we're doing sort of a mix of 1970 and 1971 graphics on this car. The blackout treatment is 71, these stripes are 70. And the process will be getting it in position perfectly, putting a tape in the middle, folding back half of it, removing the backing, cutting the backing off, smoothing this side, and then pulling up this side and doing the same thing, and then repeating on top, where I'm also gonna have to cut out the lock hole, which is gonna be a pain.
There.
Wow, I actually can't believe this is about to happen.
I think it looks pretty good. I finally got the hang of painting the flat black.
This is the official final moment.
I know.
There we go. Steve, 2 years. Done!
Yeah, that's quick, man.
You did it.
Dude. Yeah.
It looks amazing. The blackout is so awesome.
This car is pretty badass.
This is the third car you've painted for me. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You think I should give it back?
What?
The crop duster.
No way, man.
No?
You're stuck with it. I've got the orange duster.
Really?
Yeah. I told you I wanted to paint the crop duster, and
Done.
It's painted. But thanks, buddy.
It's really awesome, Steve.
Yeah.
You did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
You know what, though?
It's all downhill from here.
I think I got the trans down in the truck. Do you want to go do burnouts?
Yeah, let's go take it for a ride.
Burnouts. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, this thing's gonna be pretty good.
Good oil pressure.
I know.
I wonder if that's hooked up. Wow, this thing is brutal.
No.
It just annihilated the tires on the downshift.
Yep.
It shifts too late, so that means that cable needs to pull sooner, right?
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, it
Or
shifts
too
really
early?
late.
Holy cow. It actually pulls second
Just
gear.
spins the tires.
Yeah.
This truck's really good.
Yeah.
It just drives perfectly, and it's fairly quiet in here.
It's very comfortable from the passenger seat, too.
We can talk about the history of our personal relationship and car collections.
Yeah, well, the thing about this truck, too, is I feel pretty comfortable and fairly safe for the most part. You don't feel like the impending doom of death approaching, right?
No, I don't feel like death.
No.
Look how much it just lays patch.
Yeah, I know.
I guess we better find out if it does a good burnout. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah. Whoa! Careful.
Whoa! Wow,
Yeah.
they lay marks, but they don't smoke like the old ones did.
Yeah.
Well, that whole thing took way more time than it should. But my long bed pickup is back running, and more importantly, the crop duster is finally painted. And you know what? I've got to hand it to Dulcich. He is the man and truly did an amazing job on the paint and bodywork. You got to admit, Dulcich took a ton of abuse and ridicule, not only from me and also from the crew, but also from all of the fans online saying he would never finish this thing, but he did, and he did it his way. And that's basically the ethic of Roadkill Garage. You know, people shouldn't be able to tell you how, when, or where to work on your car as long as it makes you happy. And Dulcich ultimately made himself happy by making the crop duster way better than I ever expected. The thing is, will it ever run and drive again? Will we get the engine and trans back in? Will we complete the interior on it? Well, I'll tell you one thing, I am not going to commit to a deadline on that. But if it ever does get done, you will see it on Roadkill Garage.
I'm as fragile as a soft-boiled egg, man. Prepare to just be amazed by this masking skill.
Can we put wood on top of the brick? Ow! Stop!
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
actually got your hand in between the jack, the brick,
Yes.
and the ratchet.
Uh-huh.
And every second I waste is more than I can take. I've become so numb, I can feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. And I know I may end up failing too, but I know you were just like me when someone disappointed in you. I've become so numb, I can feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this. All I want to do is be more like me. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I tried so hard. In spite of the way you were mocking me, acting like I was part of your property. Remembering all the times you fought with me